Hey, and welcome to the Blueprints to Buildings podcast. I'm your host, Glen Palmer, and on this show, we interview the movers and shakers in the world of property and real estate. Now, this show is supported by something very few developers have quietly been using to get their projects funded and sold faster. Now, that is without touching the traditional 3D models that most people are used to. It's early. It's clever and it's changing how people sell off-plan property. Now, I'll leave it there, but if you're curious, message me on LinkedIn at Glen Palmer Online or check out the show notes below. Now, today my guest is Rhiannon Foster. Now, she is a realtor with Century 21 in the Greater Vancouver area, with more than 15 years experience helping clients navigate some of the most important and often the most emotional moments of their lives. Now, Rhiannon specializes in what she calls transitional real estate. Now, that is working with individuals and families that are dealing with major life shifts, such as the loss of a loved one, divorce, relocation, and even senior transitions. Now, these are the moments where property decisions carry real emotional weight. And Rhiannon has built her career around bringing empathy, negotiation skills, and trusted guidance to all of these situations. So, Rhiannon, thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate you coming on to the show and taking your time out your schedule to chat with me. So, if it's okay with you, let's just dive straight in.
Let's get started, Glenn. Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, though. I'm very excited to be participating.
Thanks. So, first question I ask all my guests, and I love the different varied answers. So if time travel became a reality and you had a chance to go back in time to when you first started your career, what would you say to the person that you were then, or who you are now, should I say, to your younger self? What would you
That-
say?
That's a little bit of a loaded question, isn't it? Going back that far in time, 15 and a half years for me, which is quite a bit of time ago. There's two things definitely that I would say. First would be, and I think this is, for anybody who is in entrepreneurship, who is starting a business, don't reinvent the wheel, right?
Mm,
Use the things that are at your disposal, especially in real estate. Like we come into it and our brokerages offer us a whole myriad of tools. And a lot of us think that we can do it better. When really, in reality, we should just start with what's given to us and then get experience under our belts, then look at making those changes. I think that would be the first one. The second one, I would say get a business coach right away. And
yeah.
I feel like I waited a lot too long to do that. And I mean, I didn't get one until 2020, which was coming out of COVID. And I thought that, it was basically 10 years in the business and I might as well, figure my life out at that point in time if this was going to be a real career. And that really made a huge difference to my business. It changed the systems that I use, how I see my business, and what I was able to deliver to clients. And so if I could go back in time, I think that would be number one, get that business
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that old adage, isn't it? That if you want to be successful in life, follow the people that have already done it and follow in their footsteps. So
Yeah.
someone in the business that has done there, been there, done that, will be able to help you and fast track it. Yeah, totally
Yeah.
agree with that. To be honest.
Yeah. Makes a
Um,
huge difference. So
yeah, and Rhiannon, you specialize in what you call that transitional real estate, like we said right at the beginning. So,
yeah.
for listeners who not are not really familiar with that term, what does it involve, and what is the type of support, and why is that support so important for clients navigating such major life changes?
Yeah, so as you mentioned in the opening, I specialize in transitional real estate. It's a term that I coined after going through the transaction process, not where I live, with my grandmother's estate. And I handpicked the real estate agent that was going to take care of the transaction and everything. And she was absolutely lovely. But at the end of it, I realized there was something missing. I didn't quite know what it was, but there was
Hmm.
definitely something missing through the whole process that my family did not get. And so I started on this journey of trying to figure out what that piece was. And it turned out that it was more than just one piece. It was a whole myriad of pieces all put together. So for me, what that looks like is negotiating certificates that help not only with negotiations in contract, but negotiations individually to be
Hmm.
able to help move a transaction forward. It's language patterns. It's things that enhance my ability to be empathetic. It's also understanding of where people come from. So I have a seniors real estate specialization. So that just means, I can help those seniors in a different way because I can understand them even better. And it's
Yeah,
just more, in this case, more is more when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to personal growth and development as well, to be able to relate to people in slightly different ways as well, and to be able to hold space and not take it on. Because I think that's the hardest part of a real estate transaction, especially even starting out, because they're all emotional. Don't get me wrong, not just the
yeah,
ones that I deal with in that regard, but every single one of these is emotional. And sometimes we can take that on as individuals and become stressed out when really our clients need us at our best. And we should be able to hold that space for them. You know, Dealing with the divorcing clients that I've dealt with, I've heard about every bad thing about every woman, every bad thing about every man out there on the planet. But I don't take that on personally. And
yeah,
that's something that if they just need to vent, they need to vent, right?
yeah,
But having the ability to hold that space and move people through a transaction has been invaluable. I got my certified transition coach license, and it's similar to a life coach, but very specifically, I specialized in transition, and
hmm,
it just gives me that ability to help the whole process move a lot smoother. Right? Because sometimes these transactions can be a little janky. There's always something that goes slightly wrong, right?
yeah,
And no transaction is the same, and it shouldn't be, right? Every person who is dealing with a sale or a purchase is an individual, and we should be able to tailor for that, and that's part of what all of that does. That makes
yeah.
sense?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's sort of stepping into their shoes and seeing their point of view and understanding where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Like a perfect example is take the passing of my father, and closing his estate down, and the people that we dealt with, very much the same as you. There was something missing that was not there, and it was that emotional sort of connection. It was for them, it was just a business. It was just a um closing down his estate, we'll get his house sold, that's it. There was no emotion to it. And it's understanding where people are coming from, because that is a major pain point in someone's life. The passing of
Yeah.
someone's loved one, and you've got to learn how to deal with that a little bit differently than if you're selling it to a new couple that have just been married and they're just getting on the property ladder. So yeah, I agree
Yeah.
where you're coming from, to be honest.
Yeah, they're two very different things, right? And it really is, like you said, it is emotional. And there is that, there are plenty of agents out there who are like, wham bam, thank you, ma'am, get them done transactions, and that's great for their business model. But that's not
Mm,
my business model, right? Mine is
yeah,
much more emotional and much more empathetic, and I want that connection because they're not just clients right now, they're clients for life because of that.
yeah. And building on top of that, you've emphasized that trust is pretty much the foundation of all your relationships. And
Hmm.
you also hold multiple negotiation certificates, like you said. So how do you balance that empathy with that strong negotiation when representing clients during those emotional sort of transitions, like the divorce or say loss of a loved one?
Yeah, so and I touched on it a little bit, and I think that part of it again is holding space and understanding when to negotiate and in which manner, right? One of the things that we do, like in my practice, is we do a communication strategy as well
Hmm.
as before we actually start the transaction to figure out how everybody here's what's going on, especially in an estate sale where there's perhaps one executor but four other kids who are kind of involved,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And so you have people who hear things in very different manners. And so what we want to be doing is understanding how to communicate with everyone so that they're all getting the same information that they're allowed to have and that nobody feels slighted or left out. Right.
yeah,
So small things like that, that is all a negotiation. I mean, we're in negotiation every day. You get up, you say hi to your partner in the morning, and they're like, hey, what are you doing? What do you want to do for dinner? That's a negotiation right off the top, right? So it's
yeah, yeah,
understanding those nuanced negotiations that happen in every aspect of the transaction to be able to interject the empathy and to be able to make sure that, you know, that there is quite a good balance and it's not just hard go, go, go the whole time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then moving on from that, as a senior real estate specialist, you work with clients navigating the later life, the end of the sort of life negotiations, housing decisions. What trends are you seeing currently in the Vancouver market when it comes to, either whether they're wanting to downsize, multi-generational living, living with your parents again, or, then retirement transitions?
Yeah, there's a couple of different things that we're seeing in our marketplace because there's a lot of individuals in Canada who I think it's now 46% of the homes that are owned are free and clear title,
Hmm.
so no mortgages, which
That's
is a
really good, that
big
is.
it's a huge piece of individuals out there, and those are the individuals who will be downsizing over the next little while. We call them over here our silver tsunami is really what it is. The wave of individuals who have silver hair who are all going to be
Yeah,
selling over the next little bit.
I love
And
that analogy.
yeah, yeah. And so there's a couple of different trends. One is there are definitely individuals who are trying to stay in their home as long as possible. So
Yeah.
over here, we have a lot of companies who will help you come in, retrofit the property to make life and stay there as, comfortable as possible until, if they have to go to a home that they would. And then the other flip side of that coin that we are seeing is, like you mentioned, multi-generational, and that's to do with a lot of the different populations that make up British Columbia and Vancouver. So lots of that, especially in Asian cultures, in
Hmm.
East Indian cultures that have come over here, where it's very prevalent back home, and so they're bringing a lot of that here. So that's driving a lot of the construction that we're seeing now. And then the last sort of group is the group that is downsizing right now so that they can take money out to give to their kids so that their kids can purchase. So there's
Yeah.
a transfer of wealth happening, and that's probably the biggest cohort right now of individuals. And so for every single home that gets sold, sort of on the west side of Vancouver, then you have two additional transactions, so it's, mom and dad doing a downsize, and so it's giving money to one or maybe two kids. So it's a lot of transfer of wealth going through the system here. So pretty
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
That's really interesting, to be honest.
Mm.
Especially the 40 odd percent of people that have, owned their homes outright. That
It's
is
amazing.
massive,
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah. Yeah, our home
Yeah.
ownership in Canada is it's a very, very strong thing, right?
Yeah.
Although it's fallen off in a little bit over the last couple of years because of the strength of the rental market and all of the rental buildings that have been built.
Hmm.
It's definitely, and I think that there's younger generations who don't value the home in the same way that we all do. They're a little bit more transient. But
Hmm.
for us, I still see the Gen Xers and those elder millennials coming in, and home is a very important thing to them. So they're still in the position to be looking to buy.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then, real estate is evolving pretty quickly when it comes to digital tools now.
Yeah.
Including that includes, data, automation. So from your perspective, where is the technology helping agents serve the clients better? And sort of where do you think the human element still really, really matters?
Yeah, and I love this question because I actually help train agents on how to integrate AI into their business. So this actually makes me very excited. Um, to me, AI and the technology that we use should enhance what we do. It shouldn't
Yeah,
take over what we do. It should be a conduit for us to be better for our clients. 100% hands down. So if there's a technology that's being implemented and it's taking away from what you're being able to do with your clients, it's probably not what you want to be using. So for me, I see just this amazing space right now where we as agents get the support that we need sort of in our back end systems, and that kind of stuff can free us up to do what we do best, which is be belly to belly, face to face with clients, and to be, closing those transactions and doing those deals and building those beautiful relationships that really lead to all the stuff that we do. And we all got into this business because of, we want a little more bit more freedom. We wanted to,
yeah,
have control over our lives. And AI right now just gives us that opportunity. But it will not replace, and it cannot replace that belly to belly, face to face, that building of relationships, because AI can't sell a house, right? And we've
no,
seen that, and
no,
it happened during COVID, where video tours were happening, people were seeing properties and buying them sight unseen, but those were most of the properties that got sold 4 years later because they weren't
yeah,
right,
yeah,
right? So, and it really is that human element and that human aspect that can be enhanced by AI, but won't be replaced by it. I don't think
yeah,
personally. And
yeah, definitely.
maybe I'm just biased because I'm a real estate agent.
Definitely, no, definitely. I think there is certain parts that will, you will always be human, and that is the relationships part, the communication part. So, bolting onto that, many agents today, they're juggling with their lead generation, then their client communication, then there's the documentation, the marketing that has to do. So, where do
Yeah.
you think automation and AI tools could realistically remove that friction and give the realtors more time to focus on the client relationship sort of side of the business?
Yeah, I think that for me, it starts within the CRM, right? For any agent out there, and for most businesses, that's where the bulk of your information is stored, every little bitty piece of data on all of your clients, and that's the main place where all of that should start. Being able to have workflows for contact, because even if you can't make it to contacting everybody in your database, say once a quarter, as long as there is maybe a drip campaign or an outreach campaign that is happening, then you're being able to stay top of mind. I think that's like the first tier, number one. For me, I've started working on the back end with Claude Workspace, so it's starting to write my newsletters and do small things like that and tasks for me and send those out without me
Mhm.
being involved. And so the more that the AI and agentic AI can take over that, then that becomes hands off for me. As long as it's still in my tone, it's still my voice, I'm happy for that to happen. Because again, that gives me that time and that space and that freedom to be building relationships, which is really the crux of all real estate. So I think small things like that, which are actually fairly big things when you think about it,
Yeah,
those are the things that really, really move the needle right now. And I mean, we're going to see this, change dramatically over the next 5 years. I mean, even in the last, well, since, OpenAI had released ChatGPT, there's been leaps and bounds of change that have happened. And so the next
yeah,
five
very,
years
very
won't be
quickly.
any different. And I do think it's one of those things not to be scared of, especially I know that there's a lot of trainers out there who are saying, "Oh, if you don't adopt AI now, you're going to perish. You're never going to have another client." And it's not like that. It's just you will be eclipsed at some point in time by someone who is using all of the tools at their disposal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Rhiannon, really loved having you on the show. Really enjoyed your conversation, especially on that transitional real estate.
Thank
To
you.
me, that's something that doesn't get discussed enough in the industry. And then, once again, thank you to my listeners and the viewers of YouTube as well. But Rhiannon, before we go, if listeners, viewers, they want to get in contact with you, learn about what you actually offer, what are the best ways for them to do that?
Yeah, so they can head over to my website. It is www.reobsessed.com. So it's real estate obsessed is my team name.
Hmm.
And is one great way to get in touch with me or just give me a call. 1-604-999-4587.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Rhiannon. And quick reminder to you out there, this episode was supported by PropTech visual platform that is changing how forward-thinking developers plan, pitch, and sell. It's not mainstream yet, but it will be. If you want to stay ahead of the curve, you know exactly where to find me. You've been listening to Blueprints to Buildings podcast. I'm your host, Glen Palmer, and I was joined today by Rhiannon Foster. Thanks again for listening and watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.